All right, I'm Justin. This is the Human Experience Podcast. I'm with my good friend Jared. We met in the REACH program, and we have had minimal conversation, really a lot more group stuff. So I'm excited to get back to it. I haven't seen you in a while. So
Yes, absolutely. It's been very minimal one-on-one contact. I met Justin, like you said, through the REACH program, through their men's program. A little too early for me, and I've got some insomnia problems. So it's often, every time you usually see me at the men's program, it's because I've been awake from the night before. Why you haven't seen me so much, but it's good to see you again. I'm excited to see you too. I'm excited about this podcast, man.
yeah, it's cool, huh?
Yeah, it's really cool. We'll get more into this later, but for a teaser, just the other day, I was saying to my cousin, I was like, man, I don't need to be rich and famous, blah, 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 but I would love to get to what I call podcast famous.
How long ago did you say that?
Not a week ago.
Well, congratulations, you're famous.
Look, Ma, I made it.
Yeah, yeah, you're famous now.
Yeah.
But thank you so much. More importantly, what this is the human experience. We want some human truth about whatever topic it is. The REACH program is not just drugs and alcohol. It's a lot of things to us, I know, because once we got past the drugs and alcohol, it seems like the human started to come out a lot more, rear its ugly head, and we learned how to deal with that. So what this is to help others and just be able to relate to different experiences of all kinds and sorts that people can relate to, and hopefully help some people out there. So again, thank you for being open and honest with what you got going on. So can you tell me a little bit about Jared?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see. Well,
I love it when they do that, because look, Stacy's like, all right, Justin, Tuesday you're telling your story to everybody. I'm like, which story? Because
Exactly.
I'm so
Yes.
fragmented as a person
Yes.
that I have so many different versions of myself and so many different stories. I'm like, which story do you really want? But what we really have learned is that there's one truth, and I appreciate it. So wherever you want to start, even if you got backtrack, it's all right.
I'll be all over. Yeah, that was
Do
what
it.
I was just trying to explain, thinking how to explain. I'm really bad or really good at lateral thinking, so I can relate to people very well. I'm I'm not diagnosed ADD, but when I get in like this tangent of thought and I see all these sparkly things and my mind wants to go a million different ways, then I might forget my original point. But if I ramble long enough, kind of like Michael Scott from The Office, if I keep talking, maybe it might make sense.
Right. Yes.
But so let's see. I was born March 24th, 1995 in Louisville.
Okay, everybody get his identification now.
Yeah, and my social is 123. No. Let's see. Unlike a lot of the people that we come into contact with recovery, I had a very blessed upbringing, very financially comfortable, not like rolling in the millions, but not beneath the poverty line. Very comfortable. Both parents work. Both parents still together to this day. They actually my dad's just recently retired this year. Mom's down to 1 day of work, and it's really cool to see.
That's awesome.
It is so cool to see. They have been busting ass my entire life.
Right.
And now with the turbulence in the market, where some people, man, you think, God, I finally got to the finish line. Now I can coast and eat. It's easy time for me. Man, the market's turned, and they're cussing and all that, just like I am, but they're still doing their shit. They're still getting after it, and they're still doing what needs to be done. So, I mean, role model-wise, I had great parents, which is something I struggled with, actually, in recovery, because I'm coming, and I didn't feel like my story was worthy compared to some of the other stories around me.
Same for me. When they start going through those family dynamics, and they're like, well, this was this, and this is, and I'm like, mine wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
But each is unique.
Yes.
So continue.
The big portion of my story that I found out in my recovery journey is mental health awareness. I did not know how. I've just mentioned before we started this, I've been watching a lot of Jordan Peterson, and one of the more recent videos I watched, he was talking to this North Korean refugee who was explaining her, I don't know the proper term, but her integration into the rest of the world. And she said that she had no idea of what the word oppression was. And she said, if you don't know the word oppression, you're oppressed. If you know what oppressed means, and you can talk about it and say, I'm oppressed, you're probably not as oppressed
I've
as you
heard
might
him
think.
say that before.
Yeah. And that was like, so the lateral thinking, how I talked about,
No, you're
I
good.
took that and apply it. That was me with anxiety. And to not as a severe degree depression, but more anxiety. Looking back and trying to work through my own mental health history, my anxiety probably started around 12, 13 years old.
And why do you pinpoint that?
I was thinking about this last night, so I'd have an answer for you.
Great. Because it's easy for us to say, well, around 30, is
right.
when I relapse again or
So-
whatever. So I'm curious of what really pinpoints that timeline.
So I went, this is just going to add to the atypical tragedy story. I went to St. Gregory Catholic School from 2 years of preschool, third grade, or 3-year-old, 4-year-old, kindergarten, up to 8th grade. Graduating class was 18 people. Mm-hmm. My best friends, every one of them, and they were family. And we fought like family. We loved like family. And there was this little divide in the physical layout of St. Gregory where the 6th, 7th, 8th grade were in their own wing, and 5th, 4th, and below were kind of in their own. And the physical mapping of the school, just the segregation by age, it made it kind of a cool level up when you were in 6th grade. So all my friends and everything, my entire world, I was completely fine with. Just the happiness that I tried to chase for so long when I was actively drinking was this happiness and contentment that I had probably 5th grade before. And that was the most frustrating part. I remembered what it was like to not have a care in the world. And that's what made life so much more difficult, because I was like, what? No. Something went wrong because it was this way.
Mm-hmm.
Something must have happened. Now it's this way. It was, and I was using alcohol to try to numb the pain, whatever I was chasing at the time, because I saw a video where the guy was talking about, well, I did well at my job, so I'm going to drink. I did poorly at my job, so I'm going to drink. I'm doing well with family, I'm going to drink.
Makes me a better worker. Makes me
more creative. Every excuse under the sun.
So when you were 12 or 13,
You're right. Yeah, thank you.
It's all good.
Yeah,
That's what I'm here for.
Yeah, so when I hit the 6th grade, my brother, he was a couple grades ahead of me. That was his first year of high school, and we had gone to the same school. So it was like, oh, I'm kind of my own person now. But I looked around and I was like, oh shit, I'm in 6th grade. St. Gregory only goes to 8th grade. After that, it's high school. Most of these kids are probably going to go to Bethlehem. I'm going to go to Nelson County. This is my whole world getting wrecked. So I say that about the anxiety because when I look back at it, my first kind of depressive or anxious spell, I didn't really enjoy 7th or 8th grade
because you were
as much as I should have.
You were so worried about what was coming next, the overthinking.
Yep. And that's the earliest example that I can spot.
That's awesome, because I can also relate to, chasing a certain happiness that is just taken away from you. Mine was more around a divorce that happened that wrecked my whole world, but yet I just rode with the punches and pretending but nothing was ever going to be the same again.
Never.
And I don't know. It's still to this day, I don't know if I was chasing that or that's just something that I never just accepted until now here recently. So, but the transitioning is always hard, especially if it's with anxiety, which I don't have a lot of experience with. But I was just curious about the 12 to 13 age. But go ahead.
Yeah, so that was probably, and that's a recent thought. I'm not positive that's when it, but that's kind of the earliest thing that I've just with reflection been able to pinpoint. But and then so we enter high school and teenager and hormones and tangent again. Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You can't.
This guy, I love it. I love it.
Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You can't be worried about hunger if a lion's chasing you.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay. And likewise, in my opinion, I follow that thought through. I can't be depressed unless I've got it so damn good. that was how I was beating myself up about it. Like, oh, you've got it so good. So, oh, you've got nothing but depression around or anxiety, blah, blah, blah. But no, I mean, I just looking at it now, I was a 14-year-old kid with outrageous hormones who just had his entire world stripped away, don't know anybody, went from a graduating class of 18 to a starting class of like 365 of St. Gregory, of my class. 3 other people came with me. Of those 3, had class with one of them. Completely alone. And I was watching some of your clips to kind of prepare for this, and I know we've talked about in group a lot, that love and belonging. That was a big one.
Right.
Family just, they felt what felt like family just gone. And I didn't
Do you remember any of what your family may have guided you through this? Do you remember any of that nurturing? Or
they were great. They were so good. And this is the nature, I'll later in the podcast have my spiel about speak up, kids. I mean, but seriously, it is going that way. But because I made it so much harder on myself.
How?
I didn't talk. I'm a 14-year-old kid. I know it all. I mean,
Shut the door, play video games.
No, I mean, I'm 14. Mom doesn't know about crushes. They've been married successfully for 30 years. They're not going to take me seriously if I have a crush.
Right.
But meanwhile, while you're 14, that crush is consuming and everything. Yeah,
and with somebody with anxiety, it's probably even more consuming than most, right? Because you're overthinking that whole thing.
Well, I'd imagine so, but I can't say that because, heartache's heartache.
Right.
But I don't like when people say what anxiety is or it isn't, because it is something. You say that you haven't had anxiety, and that makes
have, but
chronic, like life term, correct?
Right.
Like, yeah, everyone has anxiety from time to time.
Like during withdrawals.
Right.
I can imagine having it all the time.
It's brutal.
Yeah.
I have days, even now, and my anxiety management is so much better than where it was 2 years ago, 3 years ago. It's kind of non-existent 3 years ago.
We met 2 years ago.
Yeah, we met 2 years ago, and you met me right when I either would have been in the ugliest part of it or just through to the other side of like I see the hope side of it.
I think you were seeing hope by the time.
And man, so much of it really was. I'm not blaming my actions on anything other than me, but I can't deny that anyone in this room would work a little bit differently on 36 hours no sleep if that's the case 3 times out of the week. My insomnia was so bad. My longest, I don't do math.
When did that start? When can you pinpoint that?
So I've probably around 4th, 5th grade, I started listening to audiobooks.
The same time.
I started listening to audiobooks to keep my mind distracted at night.
Why did you think you needed your mind distracted at 5th
because
grade?
in my mind, I'm so curious about everything, man.
I can tell.
On the other side of this anxiety and depression is this childlike, overwhelming awe
I can see it,
love for life.
And I always saw that in class, but not enough because it's a group.
Right.
But talking to you now, highly intelligent. Literally, this is the most I've got to know you so far.
Yeah, most we've got to sit down.
Highly intelligent.
Thank you.
Highly overthinker.
Yeah.
Very curious, like you said, and just like almost like a sponge that will never get wet. You can always wring it out and put it back, wring it out, put it back, wring it out.
That's a good way, because when I get bored is when the depression starts.
But at the same time, that lateral thinking that you're talking about and everything that you're learning and putting in your head, it's really good that you can relate to that stuff.
And the more that I get into it, the more that I feel like I've kind of leveled up here lately. I told Stacy in my one-on-one last week, I think, I feel like I've reached a new point in recovery because I've got, I stopped drinking September of 20. And I've got a good year of like kind of getting through the uglier side of the recovery. And now I've gotten some traction and I've got some momentum and everything. I was like, I'm doing pretty good. But with watching the videos that I've been watching here lately and just trying to grow my mind, because I do have time. I don't make time to read books, and it's easier for me to more rapidly observe information through a video. And I feel like you can still get valuable information from a video from someone who knows what they're talking about.
Yes.
I don't think you can only get information from books. But I do value reading books. You know what I'm saying? I think that's in all the self-help stuff you hear about methods. Anyway, I'm rambling again. Anyway, getting back on track. Where were we?
About when you pinpointed the 5th and 6th grade when you started to listen to audiobooks and the insomnia.
So the insomnia would start to be filled because my imagination would take off, and on good nights, it would be just
And this is as a kid. This is I'm not talking about now because I'm sure it progressed too, right?
Now it's it's still, instead of what am I gonna do? Am I gonna be a firefighter or blah blah? It was like, well, okay, now as a firefighter, what am I gonna do now?
Contentment.
Balance,
love and belonging,
contentment, love and yes, all the things that we talk about in group, man. I can't say a recent shift is that I can't say that I'm chasing happiness anymore. Stacy and I talked about this in our one-on-one. I'm trying to achieve balance. And that, I've been saying that for a long time. I think I've been chasing balance for a long time. I was just thinking, I've heard a couple of people poking fun lovingly at me. Oh, again, all about balance, blah blah blah. Like I made a post on Instagram, ironically, where I'm doing a headstand out by Lake.
I gotcha.
Lake McDonald up in doesn't matter, North Park. Drawing a blank. Anyway. Doing a headstand and like stack some rocks next to me, and then I put like all the emojis and everything in the caption. It's all about balance, bro.
Yeah.
But I say that jokingly, but the more that I chase it, the more sincerely I believe it, and I'm not trying to be happy all the time now, because that doesn't work. I'm trying to be content and balanced as much as I can.
And sleep is so important, man.
Dude, little thing called serotonin.
Yeah.
It's kind of important, apparently. Who knew?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. So you now, 5th and 6th grade, it progresses through high school.
Yeah, sorry. So,
no, you're good.
So high school, I get there, and that's when the depression, angsty, teenage hormone side, I tried to find my Chemical Romance T-shirt to wear here today. Couldn't find it, but just the punk rock music, the straightened hair, the Converse, the look. It's not a phase, Mom. I was depressed a long time. It wasn't just a phase,
right?
And you learn. I also love comedy. I think there's no joke, if meant with the spirit of trying to make someone laugh. Mm-hmm. I think no joke is off limits, and people don't like that.
Well, that's you. So
exactly,
that's fine.
Yeah. So. I joke. That's been my coping mechanism since even before alcohol. Dry humor and sarcasm.
Right.
Making a fucked up joke, because if I can just giggle at it for a second, then that's 1 second I'm not crying at it. And okay, so go through high school. Dating here and there. I was good in school. I was good in class. St. Gregory. Academically, I'm not trying to sound pompous, but academics comes fairly easy to me.
It was easy.
Certain things, English,
it was easy for me too to get B's, and
right.
It was nothing for me to get B's.
In English, man, I took to particularly because I don't even from that age, my mind is curious. And to satiate curiosity, you have to understand new information. And so to understand new information, you have to grow. You have to learn new words. I need to keep a thesaurus in my pocket, but I don't. But and so English and language arts, in particular, reading and all that stuff.
It probably helps you to get some of those anxiety thoughts and the insomnia thoughts and actually put them on paper.
It does, and if it's a work of fiction or something, it just gets you out of your own head for a while. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Around junior year, I call dad's side, his dad I call Papa. Mom's side I call her dad Grandpa. So Papa passes away. Mamaw passes away freshman year, somewhere between 8th grade and freshman year. That was my first death in the family. And that was in the middle of the summer where I knew I was losing all my friends. So that was a pretty dark summer. I have one image that stands out from that summer, a flash memory where crazy black storm clouds and like vividly photoshopped green grass, and just it was the calm before the storm. And I remember looking out, I was like, yeah, me too.
Wow. What?
I mean, it was just like the it was just a perfect representation at the time of like how I felt, because it was just this black motherfucker of a cloud going around, and all the wind and but just it was like the lower to the ground, the world was like just going about its business. And like you could tell here in about 2-3 minutes the storm is about to hit, we're about to have a shit show. And I was just standing out there on the porch. I like the feeling of pre-storm weather, and I was looking out there. It was kind of just a reflective state. Yeah, me too. Yeah, I get it.
Wow.
That would have been probably 13 years old.
Man, I can't remember nothing from 13.
I've been thinking, like I said, I've been thinking way too much lately, man.
Obviously. I mean, it shows that picturesque memory and everything that you can actually relate back to. Like, I was chasing girls, but I guess that's all I had was that one track mind, and I didn't think that broad yet.
Well, and this is, I'm putting a 27-year-old interpretation after a lot of thought about my adolescence to my adolescence.
Yeah,
I wasn't thinking of that at the time. It was just, I wasn't thinking, oh, wow, I feel emotionally blah, blah.
Yeah.
I was just looking around and be like, I get it, you know. But
it means a lot more now.
It does, yes, yeah. The further I go back, and the more I can remember, because I'm curious about repressed memories. I'm like, what do you mean a repressed memory? How does that happen? Maybe if I have a repressed memory, that would explain my anxiety.
Right.
Still, humans love concrete, digestible answers, and I'm right there with everybody. And I don't understand why my brain. Why do I get anxious? I know why from an evolutionary standpoint. So the line over my shoulder, I look and okay, it's not there, or
right.
It is there. Now I understand why it's here. It's so fascinating. All of it. I'm rambling again. We're going back. Okay, so Papa died junior year. That was right around the time. Sophomore year, I was tired of being depressed. I've had a couple of times in my life where I've said I'm tired of being depressed. And I thought I could choose to stop being depressed. I have too good of a life. If I just buck up and if I just buckle down and do what I need to do, I'll stop being depressed. I've got more friends here now. I'm a little bit more in the flow of Nelson County High School. I didn't do any extracurricular activities, but I started working out with my dad after we work out 3 times a week at the old Lanham's Fitness. Lanham's Gym was what it was. And with working out with my dad, that was pretty cool. That was actually really cool. I got to learn the basics of fitness and lifting mechanics. And also, instead of going to a football locker room where a bunch of 14 to 18, just HGH and testosterone fueled people are just trying to rip their rotator cuff, Dad was like teaching me form and actually how to do it. And now lifting is a meditative thing for me. So good. But so sophomore year, I decided like, man, I'm so tired of being depressed. I'm tired of feeling like this. And that was kind of my first experience. Maybe the first time I heard the phrase fake it till you make it. And so that was when the mask went from amateur to professional. Because I was already, Mom and Dad could tell I was bummed. They could tell I wasn't having a good time because I told them. But I mean, I don't know if they know how miserable I was that first year. I know they know I was miserable. Mm-hmm. I don't know if they know how miserable. And so sophomore year, I kind of looked around. I was like, well, how are we on time? No. I thought
there's no time.
Okay, gotcha. My bad. Sorry.
No time.
Throw off the groove of everything.
No,
so
you decided. I'm curious about. You decided there was no depression. So, did you reach out for any help? Did you say, "Hey, Mom, I'm really depressed"? Did you speak on it? Did you just let it fly by? your parents knew, but I mean, did you ever bring up the conversation to any counselors, any teachers, anybody? Did they say, "Hey, let's go to therapy and talk about it a little bit"? Because the word therapy seems like a cuss word anymore. I guess because I've found an absolute best therapist I've ever encountered in my life. So now it's like people think therapy, and I'm like, yeah, but you don't know Stacy's therapy,
Right.
You know what I mean?
And I love Stacy, and I will agree with that statement 100%. But there are people, and Stacy will say this, there are people that Stacy's style won't work.
Right.
That's a big point in
Exactly.
recovery, is that you got to find what works for you.
That's right.
If you can't find that something that doesn't work for you in Stacy's system, whew, I feel bad for you because.
So did you ever, besides,
So I did not. To answer your question, I had one real. There was a little heartbreak episode where first, 14, 15-year-old heartbreak, and that was like kind of the straw that broke the camel's back on that particular breakdown, I guess. And so I talked to mom, boo-hoo, this is what's going on. Also, I'm miserable because this, and this.
yeah. And it's really hard for parents
yeah.
to see that because they're like, oh, he's just going through a heartbreak.
And they were so good. They did know I was absolutely miserable because I shadowed a day at Bethlehem about 3/4 of the way, or maybe the last quarter of my freshman year. And funny enough, by that point, I had made just enough connection at Nelson County to be where I'm like, well, I don't want to leave them.
Right.
And yeah, that was. So I decided to stay, and that with that decision was kind of what kicked my ass into gear. I was like, well, if I'm going to stay, I'm not going to be depressed.
Right.
I owe them that much because, they're offering me to go to a different place. So if I'm not taking them up on it, then by God, something better change.
Right.
So that would bring us. Sophomore year was pretty good. Sophomore year was actually probably my favorite year of high school. Junior year was a good one, but that was when Papaw passed away, and we about like how you and me, man. We were around each other at family gatherings and everything, loved each other, all that good stuff. We could talk to each other, but we never had really one-on-one time. Dad's side of the family is a lot bigger than mom's side, and mom's side was geographically a lot closer. So all that time at St. Gregory for 3 days a week, Grandma and Grandpa were picking me up after school, me and my brother up after school, and taking us out to their house until Dad could pick us up after work.
Gotcha.
So and that's a key point. A lot of time at my maternal grandparents' house. But when my paternal grandfather passed away, it was kind of my first experience of like, don't know what you got till it's gone. And because right around the same time we were studying World War II in U.S. history class, U.S. history was one of my favorite subjects in high school. I love stories and all of it. And the fact that my grandfather was actually on a ship when they watched the flag being raised, when the Marines were raising the flag. That was Iwo Jima, right? God, I'm blank. Okay, yeah. Put a camera on me. I lose all my trivia. So when the Marines were raising the flag out in Iwo Jima, he was out in the boat watching the flag go up.
Cool.
So the fact that I could have someone in my life that I could relate to made U.S. history all that more interesting. And then he passed away, and I felt like I didn't get the chance to learn who he was. Mm-hmm. I've got a picture on my phone that shows that was him when he was, a young man, almost identical.
That's cool.
I'll show you after we get off here, but yeah, it's uncanny how similar we look, and that was just making me wonder, like, man, what was life? That was a step in broadening my mind on like what was life like before me, because I think thought would have crossed my mind around that time that there would have been kids being born soon that weren't alive when September 11th happened. Obviously, there was kids alive, that I could talk to.
I got you.
Yeah. And that really blew my mind and made me think about Pearl Harbor and all that stuff. And so I say all that to say that it sparked an interest in a military option. And when I decide to go for something, I'm going to go full force. But I also was like, I don't want to be the guy that joins the military out of high school. And there's no problem if you do. I just didn't want to be that person because the thought process I had at the time was judgmental. It was like, there's a certain type of person that does this. That was my bad Anyway, so I wanted to go to at least to ECTC, get an associate's degree. That would have put me, I think, in officer school as well. It's been a long time since I thought about this, but I had a plan, and I was going. I was working at Corvin's Furniture in Bardstown, going to ECTC, and working out 5 times, 6 times a week to get. Because if I was going to go to Marine boot camp, I did all my research there too. Because the anxiety was like, well, by God, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to be the best one. I'm going to be the leader up in there. And I was getting practice PFTs out of like 285 and a first class PFT out of 300. And I think first class PFT was like 275. So I was doing above and beyond. I knew exactly what MOS I wanted. I knew I got like a 93 or 94 on the ASVAB. Everything was fine. And I had a solid plan, but I'm colorblind and I have astigmatism and extreme nearsightedness. My old glasses prescriptions are in the truck. They're like Coke bottles, man, especially my left one. And this was the height. This would have been 2015, which at the time was going through a military downsize. And so if you had a hangnail that would look slightly infected, anything at all, you were probably going to get denied. And you can get waivers. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm not trying to sound like an asshole here, but I'm clearly the best applicant here. I've got the best scores. I know what I'm doing. They're going to waive me. No, they didn't. So there was a 6-month period of, oh, shit, I'd left my job at Corbin's. I'd finished school. And there was a 6-month lull, and like, and that around that time I would have had a really bad breakup. Anytime I go on a drinking spiral, there's usually a breakup involved.
When did you start drinking?
First sip ever, or like to
cope?
To cope. First time probably would have been
when you identified, hey, this is my coping. I'm gonna drink to get rid of this anxiety and
probably
depression.
20 and a half, 21.
Gotcha.
It was. I waited. I got pretty. I almost made it to the legal buying age before I really turned it on.
Gotcha.
But then when I did, wasn't good. Well, there was a couple of years where I was, none of us go into it immediately having bad times.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So a couple of years of that, but at that point, my problems weren't when I was out with my buddies at the bar at Friday night. It was 3 a.m. when I was sobbing my eyes out, not knowing why I felt what I was feeling, and just didn't want to feel anymore and didn't want to be around me. That was when my drinking would get me, and it started off that way as an escape. I would only do that a couple times, or maybe once or twice a week, then a couple more times a week, and then almost every day that I didn't have work, because I wound up getting on the fire department after the Marines didn't work out. I kind of had a 6-month period of, that was another depressive phase. It started before that, but that was really when it was in full swing, unemployed, out of school, just too much time on my hands and everything. And I just had this goal that I had been working for years towards, with all these motivations to make my family proud and to be the best me, the best son, the best brother, the best Marine, the best whatever I could be. I was putting so much pressure on myself to be the best I could be at everything, and now I was doing nothing. So that started a pretty good spiral. After that, in the midst of that spiral, some good people picked me up, and it didn't get as deep as my bad ones, but some people kind of helped me out as it was getting there and pointed out EMS school. And the universe kind of gave me some universal nudges, I call them, pointing towards a fire service. Like little coincidences. Like, okay, for an example for us, I say last week something about blah, blah, blah. Man, I just want to be podcast famous. Yeah. Now I'm on a podcast. Yeah. And then, like, if, say, over the next 2 months, podcasts keep coming up.
To me, that's God.
I call those universal nudges. Right. And I really struggle with faith as a black and white thing. I believe in something, and I don't know what that is, and it's caused a lot of struggle, especially with anxiety.
I understand.
but I'm, I think it was Jim Jeffries. He said, here's a lot that don't catch enough flack as the agnostics. He's like, I forget what he says. Something like, maybe your God is my God, and I wouldn't say I'm religious, but I am spiritual. And he's making it sound all douchey and everything. I'm like, hey, that's me.
Yeah. I understand.
Yeah, no, it was. That's another thing like recovery, man. Spirituality, there's so many things that can work that there's not one thing that is the working way. But anyway, let's see, where were we? That would have been getting on with the fire department.
EMS.
Yeah.
I'm not even looking at my time. Okay, I promise. I'm just stretching my
You're
arm.
good. You're good. I've just, believe it or not, I've got some anxiety problems.
Nah. You would have been a heck of a Marine, dude. You would have been able to like overthink anything that any other enemy thought that they might be thinking. Because I wasn't looking at my watch, but you thought I was.
Well,
so like you almost shot off my watch, but you didn't because you figured out I wasn't looking at the
Whatever,
time. Right.
I would have been a good Marine because I trained to be a good Marine.
That's right.
but
I'm interested in more of the insomnia because I'm sure that it's really important to me about sleep.
Yes.
And I'm trying to do this 75 hard. Andy Frisilla, it's 2 45-minute workouts a day. It's following a diet, a gallon of water, and reading 10 pages of a self-help book.
Yeah.
For 75 days straight, right? And
75 hard. I've heard of that before. That looks like a good system.
I don't know if it is or not. I'm willing to try anything.
It's the one that I'm remembering.
And what it does is it trains you on a routine. But I'll tell you one
Right.
thing. With 2 kids, 5 and 2 at home, it really has. I've lacked on a sleep, and I can tell a difference in myself from time to time. So I could only imagine. And I've stayed up for 36 hours before because I snowplow. So I saw many rabbits that were not rabbits jump out in front of me while I was snowplowing. I saw a palm tree one time.
Yeah.
And so when you start having insomnia now, let's see, did the drinking, when all your friends went home and the party was over, did you drink to pass out to get sleep? Because you knew now, like, God, I got to go sleep now. And I know
There were nights where there wasn't as much emotional turmoil, and it was used more of a catalyst to just sleep. There were nights where that wasn't such a thing. It wasn't doom and gloom all the time, but there were plenty of doom and gloom nights.
When did you figure out that, hey, I got a drinking problem and it's not, I need help? What moment or what happened? Usually a loving family comes in and says, hey.
I was gonna, that was the joke I was thinking about was making. Was like, I never did realize I had a drinking problem.
Right.
No, it was told. I knew. I had nights where I'd come into work a little dusty and be like, probably shouldn't fucking go that hard. And miles before, but at what point did I have that shift where I like consciously was like, oh, this is out of my control? That would have been.
Is that legal trouble?
No, man. That was another thing in the encountering of people with my story. I've never had any legal trouble.
Yeah, right.
And I should have.
Yeah.
Should have so many times.
Right.
One time a cop. Well, no, I'm not going to get into horror stories. Anyway, so a girl I was dating at the time, I had just gotten on with the fire department. I say this with as much respect as I possibly can, but she was not healthy at the time, and I was not healthy at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And
this is mental health on her side too?
Yes. And
did she drink?
She drank, but she would have smoked weed more than she drank, but because with the fire department and everything, and I was like, in Marine mindset, I knew in high school I would have loved weed. The people I hang out with, I knew I would have loved it. And
you look like you would have loved weed.
Thanks, I think. I don't know. Well, you haven't seen me with short hair.
I do.
You haven't. No, I'm with you.
I don't label anybody.
No, I hear you, man. But so
you both were unhealthy.
Yeah, and we only had a couple of months together.
So this is part of the trauma bonding.
Yeah,
that we're always talking about, the love and belonging. When you have 2 unhealthy people. And they can relate on a certain level. Did she have insomnia?
She didn't, but we were dating for about 2 or 3 months when my maternal grandfather killed himself. So she already had a broken person who
So
didn't.
tell me a little bit about that. What happened there? I mean, he was this
It's a
guy that
great
came in
question.
and picked you up 3 days a week from school, and another father figure in your life. What happened? How does he go from picking you up 3 days of school to committing suicide? Nobody knows. What do you think? That's what matters.
I don't know.
And that's hard for a person like you because you lateral think and overthink, and you can't touch that.
And I can touch it. I can get close. But a very scary thought to get close to that is to put myself in his shoes and really walk down. I've had some dark nights where I've consciously thought, I'm not suicidal, but I'm electing right now to try to get in his mindset. And that's a dark place to go. Because I've had depression and enough trying to fight off. Like, my will. I've said to people before, I can't figure out if I'm a depressed person who desperately tries to be happy or a happy person who chronically is depressed.
Say it again.
I can't figure out if I'm a depressed person desperately trying to be happy or if I'm a happy person who chronically gets depressed. And I don't know that it matters, but to me it does.
Oh, of course.
And I try to choose I'm happy and I chronically get depressed because I think maybe the difference was grandpa who was depressed and tried chronically to be happy. I don't know. There's generational association. There's different. Sorry, the fan turned off.
Yeah, it's all good.
The generation association awareness with mental health. The stigma was totally different. Where he was in his life, he had just watched two of his loved ones decay away over the course of a couple of years from various cancers and chemo. He didn't like to be in the limelight. He didn't like anxiety. He had anxiety as well. So he, like, to do what he did, I believe he was operating under the mindset, this is my own quiet little affair, and it's not going to stir a fuss. I can pop off and be gone. And it's not going to hurt anybody. It won't, it's just, I'll be out of the way. That's the only way that I can think of it in his mindset to keep me from getting fucking livid with him. Mm-hmm. And that's been struggling too because I've got such a big heart and I have so much love in it that I hate being angry with people.
Yeah.
But I get red fucking hot when it comes to that because, well, I can't even articulate why. But the older that I get and the more that I look at our interactions, the more I realize I had no way to see it. But if I did, it would have been more obvious. We had a conversation one time when I was probably 14, it would have been freshman year, where he had really bad sinuses and everything. And one time we were over at his house after just a Monday, Wednesday, Friday was when he would pick us up. And this was before I was driving. So we're over at his house waiting for Dad to pick us up. And oh God, and allergy seasons were brutal and all that. And he just kind of made a passing comment. If I ever kill myself, I think I'm going to shoot myself right through the nose. And I was like, even at 14, I was kind of like, what? Huh? What? What? Is that just a dark humor? He doesn't, because it was out of his humor a little bit.
Right.
That's why it stands, well, then he killed himself, so no wonder it stands out now. But
no, I understand.
Even then, it was odd. It struck me as odd. And I knew that he was depressed because Grandma had Alzheimer's in the 4th grade, and that killed him. That wrecked him. And this woman that he loved and grew a family with, she didn't know him. She was messing herself. He was cleaning up poop in the bathroom. She was walking out of the house in whatever time of day. He could not take care of her, and to no fault of his own. It was one person. You can't do it.
Impossible.
And it killed him to put her in like it was like a little facility where there's like 3 or 4 other patients, but it's someone who's professionally trained to do it. So they live with them.
Right.
But it's not like a big nursing home or something, kind of like, and it killed him to do that. He would visit her. That was the other thing. I didn't know if visiting helped or hurted him. Helped or hurt him. Like, was he just twisting his own knife? But I also understand where I would want to see her too. I don't know, but that really wrecked him. And she passed away in 2013, where I would have been. That would have been at ECTC, and I was worried for him then, because even though I thought maybe she was the reason that he was still kind of living. Like, I didn't think that at the time, but I think I subconsciously felt it, because I was worried when Grandma died for him specifically and his mental state. But he got through it, and then a couple years before he died, he was at Arby's, and or it wasn't Arby's. Don't sue me, Arby's. There,
Sue us, Arby's.
He was turning.
We got the meats.
He was turning in the restaurant, and they had a door open or a thing there or whatever, and he had his tray and he didn't see it, and he tripped over it, broke his leg. And so now this man, who, even though he's depressed, he was trying, man. He had a garden, he had a pool, he would keep up his house, he would try, and now he's immobile. And when my insomnia was at its peak, what little I could sleep was during 9 to 5 hours. So I was missing all the normal human interactions and awake all night. So it felt like the world was just going right by me, and I could see where our similarities in thinking, where he would have had just the physical limitation. I could see where it really would have bothered.
Drive a man like that nuts.
Oh man,
absolutely.
But he made it
so
through that.
That destroyed you at a already unhealthy time in a transition in your life, because throughout your timeline, it sounds like you struggle with transitions. So during that transition, this happens. Another father figure unexpectedly committed suicide and destroyed you. Yeah. So that sent you in an even darker spiral.
Right. And then the girl I was with at the time, like I said, we weren't a good match for each other. We were arguing more than we weren't. I didn't want to go over because I knew we would argue, but I didn't want to stay because I knew we would argue about why I didn't go over. I'm still working at the fire department, and the only reason I was so hard-ass about it was because alcohol was legal and weed wasn't. I didn't care that she wanted to alter herself mentally. It was, this is my livelihood. I'm trying to get on with a large city fire department. They do polygraphs. They do blah, 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 drug tests, historic record test. I have goals that partaking in weed would set me back in. So it was real easy to lock in and say no. And I said, I can't be around it, and if you bring it around me, I'm leaving. So that put a chip on her shoulder because I'm drinking while I'm saying this, and that's not fair to her. I mean, yeah, and I knew it at the time. I told her that, but I said, I know this isn't fair, but it's the way it is. We wound up not working out, and then I found, we'll call her Sarah.
Hi, Sarah.
Her name's not Sarah, but
hi, Sarah. I get it.
Yeah, we dated for close to 2 years, and we had actually moved in together after only like a week and a half of talking. It was kind of very uncharacteristic for me.
Was she healthy mentally?
She is one of the smartest people I've ever met, and if you asked her that, I think she would say, if she was healthy, I think she would say yes. But because she knows so much about everything else, and she does, I think what's in the mirror is a little hard for her to see sometimes. Because I put her on a pedestal that she was the picture of health, and she was one of the biggest reasons that I got into recovery. I make a distinction between getting into recovery and then where I changed, because I was trying to therapy and all that stuff and one-on-ones and with a different therapist, and I was still drinking, but I was trying to do that for other people. But this person was one big reason, as well as my parents, that got me into the rooms. And for that, I owe her a big portion of my life. We're not speaking anymore. It sucks. But if she does happen to see this, I hope she knows that I'm grateful for it. But so we wound up, and that was the relationship where I learned the dynamics of how substance abuse can affect other people, because I put that poor girl through hell, and just did a lot of shitty things to her that I'm not, that I would never do now. And if I did do any of them, it was just because I had a moment of stupidity and didn't think something through. It wasn't because a lack of consideration. But when I was drinking, it was the lack of consideration and stupidity. And it crashed and burned that relationship. And
So you were in recovery for how long before y'all broke up?
we broke up. I initiated one-on-one therapy probably when I was still dating the girl before her.
Okay.
Through the fire department, I had.
No, I'm talking about recovery.
Recovery.
Where
Okay.
You stopped
okay.
drinking, and
Then that would have been. Then that, yeah, we would have already been broken up.
oh, Sarah, you already broke up with Sarah?
Yeah. We broke up at a. Our breakup was kind of mutual. Immediately after was not, because we both wanted to get back together. We both wanted me to be well. We both just wanted it gone. We were a good fit with certain things, and we had so much fun. And she's curious and intelligent and got my mind to grow in ways that were uncomfortable but new and exciting. And we both wanted that back.
It was love, man.
It was love.
Yeah.
And it just, I don't know, man.
I love it. I love seeing love in your eyes, dude. It's re-encouraging for the world. If you didn't see that, I did. It's right here. When a man babbles like that, he was in love. So I'm sorry that particular didn't work out, but there's got to be some kind of growth coming from it now.
Massive amounts of growth, man. Like I said, I wouldn't be, and that's why it hurts still, because
Right.
I do still love her. I mean, I can't say I'm in love with her the same way I was when we were dating, but I still love her to this day.
Well, yeah.
And I'm so grateful for her and everything that she helped me get to where I am. And
It's a shame, you know, that we always
sorry.
we always affect the people that we love the most,
like you
the
and
worst.
Scotty were talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's just the simple facts. My wife has been through it, and she is absolutely amazing. And so now, since you've broken up, your insomnia is still around now?
Yeah. So the fire department was 24 on, 48 off.
That's what started. That's what.
No, well, it started back in 4th, 5th grade.
Yeah, but that schedule.
And then, but little, I'm just saying with my
For
lateral,
somebody,
with my lateral thinking, I'm seeing, compounding insomnia over
I got
years.
you. Yeah.
Yeah. But the fire department is when it went.
But what about now? What about Jared now?
Now, man.
Tell me about Jared now, because I want to know, because we've gone through the past. Sophomore year was awesome. Junior was okay. And then the shit show after that. The loss of your grandpa. You called him grandpa.
Yeah.
All that stuff is trauma. So let me bond with you now.
Yeah, man.
Tell me about Jared now.
Well, man, now the story takes a whole nother turn, because I talked about this with Stacy in my one-on-one about 3-4 weeks ago. Was when I was in the process of this level up. I feel like I've recently leveled up in my recovery, because, like I said in the beginning, I've gotten, I went through the ugly stuff, kind of got some traction, and some people, they get a little ahead of themselves in their recovery, and legally, I mentioned earlier, I've never had to go to the first IOP. I needed to go for me, and so when I thought I was good, I still kept going. And when I thought I knew I was good, I still kept going. And now that I've leveled up through...
I wish so many people could hear that. I'm going to stop you at level up.
Yeah.
Because the fact remains, and I have many newcomers that reach out to me and ask me what to do, what's going on, yada, yada. I check in with them about 6 days clean, 7 days clean, 10 days clean. I'm good, man. I'm
Killing
good. Yeah, man, I ain't even thought about that dumb shit. Right? I'm like, dude, go anyway. And that's what you keep going and keep going and keep going, because something's going to click at some point. And then you talk about that level up.
Yep.
They're probably a little bit later. That's even later for me. Now I'm leveling up again. I'm trying to get some stories out.
Right.
So now I'm leveling up.
Yeah, man.
And that's a great thing.
It's so good. And leveling up it really is an exponential graph,
So
man.
I didn't have to go either, but I knew that it was going to save my life.
Yes.
But I also failed again, and then now I have to go. You have to go. Like, quit telling me that you're okay, because you're not.
Right.
I'm not okay.
Right.
Sitting right here across from you, hearing your story, I'm not okay.
Right.
But that's okay.
Exactly.
Does that make sense?
It does.
So
man.
it's like, keep going, keep going, keep going. There's no sense of you not hearing other people out in the middle of recovery, because it helps so much.
It does, man. You'll hear one thing you never thought of, or hear the thing that you've thought 1,000 times but haven't heard put into words. And sometimes it's like snow coming down, and it just kind of your understanding builds up. And sometimes it is like flipping a switch.
That's right.
I'm cautious with those switch flippers, because that can be, you can have your pump fakers there. But man, the consistency, that's one thing I can tell you with no anxiety. If you are serious about recovery, just keep going. You don't have to want it 1,000% all the time. And you don't have to be completely soaked into it and get into, Gant's over there rambling again. You don't have to be like that. Not everyone is like that.
No.
But go. Just listen. Go, and
you're not going to
the
get
best
something.
of your ability, keep an open mind.
And you're not going to get something every time.
Not every time.
No way.
No.
It's impossible.
It's impractical. Yeah. So now, man, I've got this move going on. You know what's weird? This is so weird. I had the reason that I scheduled this last one-on-one with Stacy was because I was going through the leveling up process when I scheduled it. Prior to the last 2 weeks, there was probably a 6-week period. Not always sad, not always happy, but every night for probably 6 weeks, at one point I was crying in the last couple months. And sometimes that was because of an overwhelming joy from where I am right now, and where I'm talking to you. Man, people want me to come on podcasts and talk about this shit.
And you'd cry.
I just think if I let myself get too into it, I'll do it right now. But
let it flow, man.
I'm good right now.
This is the room.
But this maybe invite me back. I might treat you with it sometime. But no, man.
So what made you identify the joyous crying with, I think I'm ready for?
Man, because I got confident enough in dealing with pain to where it still hurts just as every bit, but I'm so much better at handling it now. And I know it's inevitable, but it's like having a car with just efficiency, man. You got a piece of shit getting 12 miles to the gallon. You could have the same car if you have the right, if you take care of it and look after it, you can get 25 miles to the gallon, And if
you don't stomp the pedal and overthink about what's coming up.
Exactly. Yeah. So with this, I'm sorry, I'm turning away from I just noticed that he said anyway.
He's all good.
Where were we? Sorry. Leveling up. Yeah, with this level up, and I feel like, more pain. I can handle pain better now. And with that, I feel like I can experience a deeper level of joy too. Because I think where I'm coming back to the all about balance, joy and pain, just whatever you are struggling with here lately is what I've been doing. Whatever you're struggling with right now, what's the opposite? Reflect on that for a little bit tonight when you're thinking about it, whatever, and just explore what is the opposite of that, and what are some things that you could do within that category that might be easy and simple that you could do tomorrow, this weekend, next week, just to kind of get your foot back in the other pool of balance. Because if you find yourself stressing out over this particular thing, if just the way that's meditation, man. I mean, you get yourself back to center. You get yourself back to present.
You meditate now?
I've tried. I'm not sitting in the floor stereotypical meditation, but
I'm not trying to brag, but when I meditate,
Yeah.
I sleep.
Must be nice.
I sleep, man. I'm trying.
Yeah, but I do, because to the best of my ability, I do try to meditate, because it's a way that group and meditation are a way that I can put brake pads on the semi truck. That is my brain running down the highway all the time. It's just put a little bit of, just slow it down, breathe a second, man. Fucking take your time.
All right, so we now have the present Jared. And
Yes.
Jared's not overthinking too much. You're taking it day by day. I know it sounds cliche, but it is.
Yeah.
It's one day at a time. Are you sleeping?
So keep going back to that one-on-one with Stacy. When I scheduled it with her, I was in the thick of it. When I had the meeting with her, I had the first solid week of sleep that I had
After you saw her?
prior to.
Okay.
So like I scheduled it, say we'll call it 5 weeks ago. Say 2 weeks ago was the first full week of sleep, and then I had the one-on-one about halfway through that. So when I saw her, I had about 4 or 5 nights consistent good sleep, and I felt on top of the world, man. I feel when I've got a couple good nights sleep, man, I feel like I've got lightning in my hands, man.
I guarantee it.
The motivation.
What about last night?
Last night I didn't fall asleep. I meant to go to group today, and then I had to do a quick drop off, see my cousin in Louisville, and then come back here. I didn't fall asleep until 5:30 this morning, so I turned my alarms off for group and just set them to where I can make sure I got it here on time. So 5:30 to probably 11 o'clock. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 6 hours.
6 hours, but unpredictable.
And and man, a big part of recovery, and I was fortunate here too. You know, I saved up to prior to. That's an important part of the story too. How much time you got? You still good? You sure? You promise?
Yeah, I don't care.
Okay, so
Keegan.
When, in addition to the fire department with the insomnia, there was also the social anxiety, because there's a little bit of pressure with that job. And then there's the rank structure, which I understand why it needs to be in place. It can make some people uncomfortable. Some people take to it like fish to water. I felt like I took to it, but there was just, any first response service, there's a lot of stressors. And then there's the calls that you make themselves, which can be upsetting. I can't come up. When I talk about mental health, I'm not going to come on here and say, oh, I've got PTSD because of the things I've seen on the fire ground. That being said, I've seen some fucked up shit that bothers me. But there, again, with the same thing with anxiety, depression, that's a good lens for mental illness in general, I think, is you can have the thing that you're talking about without being the extreme ends of that spectrum.
Absolutely.
And that was real hard for me to accept with all of my privilege and all that stuff and upbringing.
Right.
So I was kind of coming to the ends of there was the last 6 months I was at the fire station, my drinking, that was probably the heaviest. Well, no, second heaviest. The actual heaviest was the 6 months after I left the station. But right before that, that was when Sarah and I split. That was when quarantine happened. That was when the week before the shutdown, I left my full-time job as an essential employee to go in the back of my truck and see the country, because I've got to get away. I've got to get some freedom. Country shuts down, which was now looking at it, a blessing and a universal nudge. And that was a huge thing that got me into recovery. And it was sloppy. There was a couple of days you probably could have set my breath on fire from the night before coming in recovery. And that's why I understand the environment that you have to keep. But that's also why I'm not going to judge people for messing up during the process, because I mess up during the process. And
yeah.
To people who are worried about messing up during the process, like I am, and like, just know that everyone struggles, because I'm holding myself. To this day, I'm putting more pressure on myself than you or mom or Sarah or whoever ever.
We will.
could.
We will do that.
Yeah.
We're our own worst critic. And,
Yeah.
the best way I can relate to it is that, if part of your relapse is part of your story, not necessarily your new
Right.
recovery.
And that's the thing. I hear some people after they've messed up and they say they relapse. I just threw 2 years down the drain. No, you didn't.
No, you didn't.
Learned
No, you
so
didn't.
much in that 2 years.
It's
You're unmotivated.
It's the only reason
or
that you
discouraged.
show back up.
Right. You're discouraged right now.
Yeah.
But you know more than you ever
Without
have.
those 2 years or whatever you had in before it,
This
without
wouldn't even be on your
without the
radar.
30 days, that's the only reason why you're sitting back in that chair and you're surviving through it.
Exactly. So all of that that got me into recovery. It kind of changed my plans. I've done a couple of road trips, but now that brings me up more to date. Now that I've gotten it, now that I know I'm good in recovery, but now that so I'm moving to Winchester, but I'm going to keep ties here. I've already looked for recovery programs there. Did I just say program? Oh my God, I'm turning into Nelson County.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
AA program there. I've got, I'm looking for gyms there, and I'm looking for communities so I'm not isolated when I'm going to a new place. I'm if anything, I'm nurturing the relationships,
and that's
more
got to be
now.
And because
so
of your
transition,
I'm going to be a doctor here. Because of your transition anxiety, it is very uncomfortable for you to go to these new places and make new friends, yada, 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 come out of any kind of routine that you do have or what you do know. But with that uncomfortableness, you now have growth. So that's the level up.
Yes. And
where do you want to be in 5 years? We're going to end on this.
Okay.
Let's see, 5 years. That's too much for an overthinker.
No.
That's too much.
No. I like going through these exercises. Let's do it.
Where is Jared in 2 years?
So 2 years.
It's 2 years.
2 years. Why did you say?
Because
why 2 years? Why not 5 years?
Does he not like me? Yeah. Why in the world is he not going to have me back on the podcast?
Right,
what is going on?
We'll do 2 years. Let's see. So it's 2022. 2024.
2024, right before a big election. You're running for president?
That would be a sorry state of the country there.
No, it would just be a long state of address.
We've got good ideas. You're just going to have to bear with me, okay?
Yeah.
Believe me. Let's see, 2 years. I am... you can tell from our talk that relationships are important. Romantic, specifically, relationships are important to me. I have intentionally not been with anybody for a year or so. And then I've unintentionally not been with anybody for about a year as well.
Gotcha.
But I'm glad that I say unintentionally, kind of both. Like, I see a lot of people in recovery.
Yes.
Yeah.
Bed hopping.
Yeah.
That's what Stacy calls it.
And I'm not judging that. I'm not judging morally or anything like that.
You're learning from it.
All I'm saying is that I don't think that would be conducive to the goals that you're going to the recovery rooms for. Mm-hmm. I think that's fair to say. So
it's also another evil.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just as bad.
That's never been one of my
2 years.
vices. Yeah.
Yeah, right. 2 years.
2 years. I know I'm still going to be locked in some type of fellowship. Career-wise, it could go a couple different ways, man, because I've been...
What do you love every single day that you do, no matter what, if you got paid or not?
Learning. But school's expensive. I love helping people, but I don't know if I could overcome my own self-critiquing tendencies to get into therapy, because I've heard people have said, dude, you should look into physical therapy. People have said you should look into psychological therapy. They say you should be a traveling nurse. Physical therapists and traveling nurse are the ones I get the most, because I do love to travel. Within 2 years, hopefully I'll have seen a couple of new countries that I haven't seen. Iceland's been on my list. Greenland. I would love to go to Australia, but I think it might kill me. Man, just travel as much as I can, love as hard as I can, be as open with people as I can, keep trying to be the change and all that hokey stuff, man, because all that hokey cliche stuff, it is true.
It is.
Yeah. And I don't know. And that's part of That's part of the beauty of it. I'm excited right now.
It's good, man. I'm glad you're having a transition, and thank you so much for sharing your human truth here on the Human Experience.
Absolutely.
And Jared, I love you, man. I don't
Love
know
you
if
too, brother. Sorry if I know I can go on for a little while,
No,
but
I just
hopefully someone will.
You should only be sorry because there were no tears.
Well, okay. And you gonna invite me back?
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway.
All right. Yeah. Cool. If you get me on here with any halfway regularly, we will cry.
Okay.
Okay.
I got you.
Yeah. But no, yeah.
Thank you so
for
much
bringing me on here. I appreciate everything. I love you too, man. I guess my little wrap up would be to tell people they're not alone.
Man, I've been saying that. Like I've been preaching to my daughter that as well. She's 5, and I just want her to come and tell me.
Yes.
And she's gotten really good at not being able to lie, which is part of me working on my fragmented self and being whole as a person.
Yeah.
And chasing that wholeness instead of happiness, and that's what I try to instill in her as well. Right. And you are not alone. There's something. This is what this is all about. There's something that you can relate to another human, and it is just that we are humans. We're going to make
an experience,
and it's an experience, and the experience can go over so many different avenues. It's unbelievable. And I've already number 3. You're number 3 person I've been across this table with, and each one is just totally different and relatable on a whole new level. So those 3 right there is already related to how many people that can relate. You are not alone.
Exactly.
All right. Thank you, Jared.
Thank you, man.
Appreciate you.
Appreciate it.